So again, thank you for the introduction. I'm Wendy Weinstein. I'm based in Larchmont, New York, and it's a pleasure to be here today with you all. We're going to talk about trends in digital marketing, and this is something that I do for clients, and I'll take you through the discussion outline. And I will try to speak for about 25 minutes, and then is that still good, Jennifer, based on our timing? Great. Okay, so I'll speak for about 25 minutes, and then you can load your questions into the chat if you have any. And if we don't get to any, I'm happy to answer questions at another time. My contact is there below. And also, if you follow me on Twitter, that's my Twitter handle, I'll upload the entire deck after. So if there's facts you're trying to scribble down, don't worry about it. It'll be posted, and you're welcome to all this information. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my background so that you know from whence I speak and my experiences that are informing all the things that I'm going to say today. I went to the University of Pennsylvania and the Wharton School of Business, so rah Cornell will take you on any day. After that, I went and worked for the Pernod Ricard Group, which is a multinational wine and spirits, partially because I had a degree also in French and wanted to keep that in the background of what I was doing. I worked on the Orangina soft drink brand, both in New York and in France, where I was part of the team that launched Diet Orangina. From there, one European beverage led to another, and I went to work for San Pellegrino, the mineral water and soft drink company, Italy's largest beverage company there, Coca-Cola, if you will. I was part of the team that launched San Pellegrino in the United States. It pretty much wasn't here before. It was all Perrier at that time. And we, through a lot of marketing research, established that large bottle spirit of meals together, sharing, upgrading the water experience. And that work I did in both New York as director of marketing for the US and Canada. And then I was asked to lead the global marketing and packed my bags once again and went to live in Milan. Someone had to do it. It was wonderful, and lived over there. When we sold the company to Nestle, I then hung out my own shingle and set up a consulting resource that also enabled me to be a mom of three, well, first one, then two, then three, and work from home. So that was a great personal mix for me. My consultancy is called W2K Consulting. And also during these last 20 years that I've been doing this, I also, just for fun, opened a restaurant in Larchmont that some of you may know called Plates Restaurant. I was part of a group and we bought this building from the former owners. I'm sitting in it right now, my former home of Plates Restaurant, which is now, since last summer, believe it or not, opening in the middle of the pandemic, Billy and Pete's Restaurant, a wonderful upscale pizza salad new restaurant here in Larchmont, up for best new restaurant from Westchester Magazine. So that's exciting. And we'll talk about them as one of the two case studies that we're going to talk about in a minute. I was also the founder with a few other residents of the Larchmont Farmers Market, which is a very vibrant farmers market here in Larchmont, welcoming 1,500 shoppers every Saturday, which was the first of a series that was opened throughout Westchester. So that was very exciting. Here are some of my clients, just to give you a sense of who I do work for. Billy and Pete's Restaurant, Paolo's Restaurant Group. I worked for them for 5 years, 2 on Madison Avenue, 1 in the Hamptons. The Newport Restaurant Group, based out of Rhode Island, 16 restaurants throughout Rhode Island and Massachusetts, a wonderful portfolio of 12 different dining experiences. A client that I worked for many years, Just Amazing Skincare, a physician formulated bio skincare line formulated by Dr. Bruce Robinson, a dermatologist in New York City. I worked for the New York Health and Racquet Clubs, 9 upscale health clubs in the city. Reliant Recovery Water, a functional beverage out of Seattle, partly owned by the quarterback of the football team there, and Gourmet Daily, which is one of the first meal delivery companies that went on to spawn a whole category, of course, as you know. So just moving on to what we're going to be talking about. First, we'll talk about digital knowledge management, which is also called DKM, and then we'll apply that to a case study. Then we'll move on to the best practices in email marketing and apply that to a case study. And that's kind of where we're gonna go from here. So digital knowledge management in its definition form is the creation and management of public facts about a business, an organization, a service, in all forms of consumer discoverable devices and platforms. So all the information about you, your business, your product, your brand, and how people find it. DKM involves you identifying, managing, and curating all the information that's out there on the internet and being proactive about how you handle it and present it. If you leave it to happenstance, and this is really the moral of the story and the one line that matters above all else, if you let it happen without your own management, the internet and the general public will decide for you and upload and impute information that might not be exactly the way you want yourself to be presented. So it's really, DKM management is about 360 degrees of accurate information about your brand. It's managing your digital footprint, which you can do yourself, or you can subscribe to a service. There's one in the footer. The footer will sometimes provide you with information about some of the services I'm talking about. So Yext, for example, is one of 10 services that you can subscribe to. A restaurant such as Billy and Pete's might have a contract with them. They do. I did it. And it's about $1,000 a year, maybe 900. They have more than one service. Entry level for a service like that is about $500 a year. So minimal to really take control of your digital information. When we talk about digital information, we talk about your purpose, your guiding principles, things as pedestrian is your hours, your location, your address, your images, which are very important these days in image creation, video. GMB stands for Google My Business, which is one of the primary search engines for information, events that you might be having. This can apply to a service, an electronics store in Scarsdale, a restaurant in Larchmont, a public group such as the Rotary in Scarsdale, the firefighters of any town. You can have a presence and make sure that you are accurately represented everywhere. I call these platforms such as Yext search engine optimization, which is sometimes abbreviated as SEO, for the little guy. Yext and the companies like them made it possible for all of us to do search engine optimization. Go back 15 years, 10 years when I was doing marketing for the meal delivery service, Gourmet Diet, we hired a search engine optimization company. They were based in India. They had a presence in New York, and they had hundreds of people in a big warehouse, and they were literally uploading manually all the information that we told them to. Now it's a SaaS service. SaaS stands for SaaS. You probably have seen that acronym, software as a service. And it's a service that we can subscribe to and through a dashboard, control all our information everywhere that it might appear. So let's talk about this in the context of a case study. I picked Cafe Elia restaurant on Garth Road in Scarsdale. Cafe Elia is not my client. I don't know them. This is public information that I'm talking to you about. So it's nothing that I know from the inside track. What I did, just to kind of put it in your neighborhood, is did a search about Cafe Elia. I looked at their presence, their website. And I just thought, and through a widget that anybody could access, even on the Yext site, you can go onto the Yext site. You can input your business, your URL, and your phone number, and it'll tell you for free what's your optimization rate. So Cafe Alaya has a 57% optimization rate. What does that mean? Like on the scale of good or bad? Well, we want 100% of our information to be accurate, and that's not something that's out of the question to reach for. You might get 96% for a couple of reasons, which I could tell you about if we had time. So there is work to be done there. Why? What happened to Cafe Alaya? Well, I picked them for this case study because I happen to know I've been there and I've had dinner there. It's lovely and delicious. They had lovely outdoor dining, which I did. They moved from 66 Garth Road to a larger location at 128 Garth Road to a bigger, which you know you love to see in the pandemic, somebody moving up, doing better, doing great, wonderful. So they moved, but they did not take their digital information with them. Why? I don't know why. They're busy, right? It's a single proprietor restaurant. He's opening every day. He's raising the flag. He's got to shovel snow. He's got staff. There's a million things to do. There are now about 120 search engines that carry information about our brands, services, and organizations. What's one of them? Google. That's the biggest one. You can go on to Google My Business and claim your listing. If you look at the map pack of information that comes up when you go onto Google, you can see on the bottom, it says, know this business, want to claim this business. And if you click, yes, I'll claim it, and you can verify that it's yours, you can manually improve your Google My Business presence. That's manually doing it. As I said, there are 120 search engines. So if you don't have time to get to all of them, each one to optimize Google My Business would take me about 2 days for a business. And there's 120. So do the math. That's a lot of uploading. Again, $500, Yext. I now have a dashboard. I upload the information to one place exactly as I have it, my address. If I change it today on my dashboard, it's updated as of tomorrow. Other things about Alaya around me, another search engine information is missing completely. That's like near me search on the phone. You know, that's the primary way that people find you these days. They say electronics near me, EMS near me, pizza restaurant near me. And if you are actually near them, you should be coming up. So I did a search on my phone, restaurants, good restaurant near Scarsdale train station. Cafe Alaya came up 11th. That could have been better because they're a really nice restaurant. There's Moscato, there's others right there, but they should have been 11th. And very importantly, they were what we call below the fold, meaning they were not on the first page. Sometimes people don't get beyond what's listed first, second, or third. Pizzerias came up before them. And remember, I said good restaurants. And Google, when I do that, factors in reviews. It's not just random. So they should have come up higher. On TripAdvisor, which is a search engine that people turn to for restaurants, hotels, and locations or sites to visit, they have the incorrect address. It still says 66 Garth Road. That's bad. If somebody's trying to navigate there, they'll end up in the wrong place. They finally see they moved, then they're in the wrong spot. They finally show up and they're mad. You don't want your customers arriving mad. That's not good. They came up, TripAdvisor rates them number 9 out of 72 restaurants in Scarsdale, which shows they're good. They're perceived of very well. Google My Business doesn't concur, and having the wrong address. This is what I'm talking about by not owning managing and curating the information. Another issue would be, do you think that Cafe Alaya, when you Google it and look at the businesses, the images, excuse me, do you think those are the very best images? They're not too bad in images, but what happens is if you don't put your images up that you want to represent you, people upload all the time images about you, particularly for restaurants. You've seen it. They're here at the table, literally. They stand on their chair with their phone. They're going like this. They're moving the candle. They're taking pictures, and they're uploading food, maybe your products, your location. They're doing it for you. If you actively manage and upload the images you want and constantly get in there, yours will rise to the top. This is the art of information management. So there's certainly a lot more to say here. You can ask any questions, put them into the chat, but I think you get the idea. One thing I didn't say, no favicon, that's probably a foreign word to some of you. When you have multiple pages open in search, the little symbol that is on the tab, which lets the user know quickly, where am I? They don't have one. So it's just a general image that Google supplies or whatever search engine you're using. A favicon is a really good identifier for branding, and every business, service, organization, club should have one, and it should show up. So these are just some of the information management, but since we're trying to get through a lot, I'm gonna keep moving and get into best practices in email marketing. So email marketing, as you know, because if nothing more, you're all the recipients of emails from organizations or businesses and services that you've opted into, meaning you've told them, yes, I want to hear information from you. By the way, there is a law, it's called the Spam McCann Act, which was passed several years ago, which regulates how companies can build lists and communicate with their constituency. You cannot just, I couldn't take the Scarsdale Rotary list that was copied maybe on an email and put them into my email, because that's against the law. To violate the Spam McCann Act is considered a felony, just to know how seriously it's considered and how we marketers must adhere to what the regulations are. So when I say best practices, we're also talking about laws and federal regulations. Going back to the definition again, email marketing is the use of email to promote products or services while developing relationships with potential customers, clients, members, or it could be, friends. It is essentially what was direct mail, now done electronically instead of the post office. Ironically, sometimes a little direct mail is very effective because nobody does it anymore. So your little postcard can stand out if you do it. But again, not something we're talking about today. We're sticking to email marketing. I put email marketing is not dead, because sometimes you'll hear from marketers that it's all about search and digital knowledge management and finding information and companies that you want to transact with on your phone. That is true, but email marketing certainly is still a very big player. It is used, as you know, for welcome letters, to do newsletters about your business or service. It is what's called lead gen, how to build a relationship so that they buy something from me. It can be transactional. The email can contain a call to action that actually gets someone to buy something. So email serves a multitude of functions, and I can use a combination of them. Let's say for this restaurant, Billy and Pete's, we might have a newsletter, we might have a short form blast another time, vote for us for best new restaurant, all different kinds within the portfolio that we're using. There are many suppliers. Constant Contact and MailChimp are two of the largest. I have the contact for Constant Contact below. MailChimp will come next. I have used Constant Contact for many years. I know the Scarsdale Rotary does as well, because you can see it in the footer. So it's really, you kind of pick a supplier and stick with it. I'll talk later about one that's free and doesn't cost anything. But something like a Constant Contact charges you based on how many contacts you have. 0 to 2,500 is your first price. After that, it goes up. MailChimp, instead, their formula is that they charge you by how much you send. So depending on the math, something might be better for you or not. One of the most important flips in email marketing these days has been the migration to mobile. And now in general, and of course it varies based on industry, geographic location and demographics, age of your users. But in general, more people are viewing emails first on the phone and secondarily on the desktop or a tablet. So that is about a 55-45 ranking now. The older the constituency, the tendency toward desktop. Conversely, the younger, they're like all mobile. They don't even have a desktop. I mean, sometimes they do, but laptops and so forth. So some of the best practice in terms of constructing your actual email is that the open rates are highly impacted by the subject line. I cannot emphasize that enough, because if your subject line isn't compelling, doesn't have news, doesn't intrigue or hook, the most important part of an ad years ago was called the hook. The hook is in the subject line for email marketing. What's good there is news, words like new, read more, things that are compelling. If you're ever in the news, if you ever had a write-up in the Scarsdale Inquirer, in the New York Times, in the LOHUD, those links in your email and the mention of them in the subject line is one of the most compelling things. We were rated. There's news about us. People like new and news, and if you have it, say it in the subject line. The open rates vary by industry and expertise. Just to show you, for example, in the restaurant industry, the average open rate is 13%. So that means if you send an email and you're just like everybody else, 13% of the people that you send it to will open it. And remember, that's not the same 13% each time, right? Garrett sends an email about the Rotary, and that's a highly opted in and interested group. He'll get different people that open this mail than will open it the next time because of how busy people are, they're on vacation, or their time of day wasn't right. So it's 13% for restaurants, not necessarily the same 13%. For my clients, such as Billy and Pete's, and we're going to look at a case study there, the last email that we sent, we're getting about 45% open rate. That's very good. And I'll say, because in every subject line, I have some news. Westchester Magazine covered us. We were in the New York Times, Larchmont Ledger, the Scarsdale Inquirer thought our donuts were great. So this kind of news will boost open rates. Other little tactics, use questions. People like questions because they like to give answers. People like to share their opinions. Alliteration is a wonderful tool. I'm trying to think of one now, like, always Elia, Billy and Pete's perfection, a catchy phrase that rings even in the mind from someone who's reading it. Announcing new things, as I talked about, is always good. One thing that's important to try to discover as you manage your email marketing program is to discover when your best time to send is. It varies by industry. So you have to experiment. For example, and in general, I find that Monday morning is not a good time to send because the weekend is over. People are just getting back to their desk. They've got an inbox to get through, and it's a busy time. So they might be like, I don't have time. I don't have time for Scarsdale Rotary right now. I'm gonna leave that there and get back to it, which they may or may not do. I don't have time. I'm not thinking about going out to eat on a Monday because I mostly go out to eat on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I don't want to think about you. So Tuesdays are nice. Thursdays are nice. I also like an early morning on a weekend. Um, Time of day has changed in importance over time as the prevalence of reading emails on the phone and on the go has increased, because people can like use their downtime on the train or while they're even, parked waiting for a kid and just get through a few. It matters a little less, but still you want to figure out when is the best time for your emails. How do you know that? Because in your analytics, which we'll take a look at together in our case study, your analytics will tell you what your open rates are and when they opened. So you will know. The more you do this, the better you get at it. And referring back to industry standards, which is available publicly and through your service, will help you to really hone in on when your best times to send are. Wix, there's information down there in the footer. Wix is a very cool company that hosts websites, provides email marketing, helps you with events, and it can be free even at certain smaller levels. So really a partner for small business. They also have marketers there who you can like get to help you for 1 hour, even for free or just for a small rate. So excuse me, a good service. Thought I'd throw that in there. All right, let's talk a few more before we get into our into our case study here. MailChimp, there you see the contact. This is important, this first bullet point: preview email on desktop and mobile. When you construct an email and before you send, you want to go into preview mode and see what it's going to look like to the people receiving it. And it's very important, even if you're working on your large desktop, on your laptop, to look at the preview on the mobile. What's it going to look like? Because it renders differently on a small screen than a big screen. You might find that your copy was justified and it looked good on your desktop, but that doesn't look good the way the text is wrapping on the mobile. So preview on both and make adjustments to get the best presentation across devices. And it's also important to remember in email marketing that with the prevalence of cell phone reading, the pre-header, that secondary subject line, which renders in some email marketing, reading platforms, it's there in some and it's not there in others. So you want to use the pre-header, which some of it is more important than the back half long tail of the subject line. In other words, if here's your subject line and here's your pre-header, some phones will only see the first half of both of those two. So you want to get the important information farthest to the left. Some of these are very technical issues. You want to make sure that you have links to click in multiple places. Every image that you have should be a live link. You should decide where it goes, because sometimes there's a link above, then people read your body copy. There should be another link below. Depending on how you want your reader to engage with you and dig deeper, you want to put that in your links. Some people read your subject line and that's as far as they're going. And that can be fine. They might be like, oh, right, Rotary. When is that next meeting? Okay, good. Oh, Billy and Pete's. Yeah, we'll do that this weekend. I don't have time to read this stuff, but it's a reminder. Some people will open the email, hopefully, and say, oh, let's see what's the news here. And then some people will go, wow, the menu sounds awesome. I want to look at the whole menu, and then they click further. All of this is measured in your analytics, and it's like a funnel. You get them in, and then you just keep bringing them with you on your journey deeper and deeper into your brand, service, club, organization, depending on how engaged they are. So after you've done your email, you've sent it out, you want to study your analytics and incorporate the learnings. Some of you know exactly what that looks like, and some of you have never seen this before. So let's take a look. This is an analytics page from Billy and Pete's Social, again here in Larchmont. This is the report on the November 2020 newsletter. Top line, right there across in the big boxes, it tells me we sent it to 1,888 people, 45.8% of them opened, and 20%, a half of them who came to visit us, went further and clicked on something. What did they click on? We're going to look at that next. But diving deeper into these numbers, it shows what is 45%. That means 683% opened on the first round. And then you see that second line, that's a resend. Now, what is that? That's a very important feature that's relatively new. These platforms will allow you to automatically schedule a resend to non-openers. If I sent it and you didn't open it, I might have meant to. And again, the day got away from me and it got so buried, I never got there. I always have my emails go out again 4 days later. And then the person go, oh, right, I forgot to open that. Oh, great that it's here. And it won't go to anybody who already opened it. So you're not bothering them. And 175 people picked it up the second time. So that's a pretty good percentage. That'll be another 10% opens. And obviously they wanted to, meant to, but they missed it. So that's another good feature to do. Bounces means ones that couldn't be delivered because the address was wrong. Primarily the address was wrong, or that's no longer somebody's active email. You want to get in and manage your bounces. You want to get them out because the email sending platforms measure your effectiveness and rate you as a good or bad sender based on the accuracy of your list. So if you get into your bounces and you see that a lot of you've got some in there, a lot of times it comes because people opt in, they go to your website, they sign on to your list and they typed it wrong, and so now you've got a bad email. Sometimes you can see, it might say Wendy Weinstein at gmail.com. Oh, missing an M. Let me fix that and see if it works the next time. So you want to manage those. On the right side, it shows you how many clicked, the percentages, how many didn't open it at all, how many unsubscribed, how many people said, oh, you know what, they bother me, it's too much. You always want to have a simple and easy, safe unsubscribe. And 10 people did it. That's not a lot. Spam reports mean somebody said, these people have no right to be sending emails. There's always one. If there was 20, you'd get flagged, or you put people on your list who didn't mean, so that would be a sign even to the platform that you're doing something wrong, and they would let you know that. Let's look let's scroll down, except I'm going to go to the next slide because that's easier. This is the link report, and it shows me where, when they went farther with me, they clicked somewhere in my email. Where did they go? Well, and that to me gives me insight into their mindset. What are they curious about my brand? What worked? Well, most of them is still a new restaurant. They wanted to know the story of Billy and Pete. What was that all about? And they wanted to read about it. They wanted to see the menu. They wanted to read the Westchester Magazine article that said their pizza was near perfect and they have side door donuts. They wanted to read the full story, not just the blurb that we had in there, but they wanted to go to the Westchester Magazine site and read the story, which, by the way, pops up in a new window so that you don't lose them from where you were, because you want them to be able to navigate back. And so this is the click-through report, and it shows you, you can analyze what worked and what didn't work and how that changes over time. And it's also reliant on where in the email I had the information. So if I know I've got something hot, like the Westchester Magazine story they did, I'm going to put that at the bottom so that they're going to see all my other information. I'm going to put in the subject line so they know it there, but then they're going to have to go looking for it. It's going to be down at the bottom. So they're going to get through all the rest of my information. So a lot of strategies here. and some of the deep dive that you have to do when you're doing email marketing so that you get smarter the more you send. Okay, so that was kind of a overview of two areas of digital marketing. We talked about digital marketing, digital knowledge management, often referred to as DKM. We talked about some best practices in email marketing. Those are two main tools in my toolbox. I would say I have about 10 really contemporary and important tools that I use on behalf of my clients. And, as we did, you could sort of go over all of them and deep dive into each one of them. But I will just say one last summation, and that is really that marketing has really changed a lot, obviously, from what is now referred to as classic marketing to now segueing into digital marketing. Both of these things are used contemporaneously. So, for example, as you know, I might put an ad in a magazine, old school ad in the magazine. That's classic marketing, and that's still very much happening, although we keep seeing magazines and newsprint that go digital only. So we're starting to fade away from some of those classic tools. And we're at this moment where there's a bridge between classic marketing and contemporary digital marketing. And sometimes how I view myself as what I do is that I'm helping my clients cross that digital divide to really get to the other side of where marketing is now and employ some of these essential tools. I do it now mostly for smaller business. I'm no longer on the Nestle enterprise level. Although some clients like the Newport Restaurant Group approaches 100 million, I still call that a smaller organization, but even individual small business, because they are so busy doing what they do every day to turn the lights on, they can't learn all this. They can't be as good at it as someone who just does that. So I'm helping my clients cross the digital divide and engage both the old way and the new way as we move toward a world that resides only the new way and digital. So there you have it. I think